No. Yeah, I kind of want to talk about this concept of cues and, like, tells, okay? It's kind of like psychological talk where I studied this NLP stuff and this, how you can frickin' read kinesics is a study of body language, right? So, like, I'm already introduced to these concepts and they kind of overlap, man, but it's like, especially like narcs, man, when you're understanding like why they're doing what they're doing sometimes, you'll get a cue or a tell, right? Like, for instance, here's a real easy tell or a cue. If you ask somebody, hey, you want to get pizza for dinner? And they say, yeah. Like, look, that sigh preceding the yes was a approval thing. You know what I'm saying? Like they're so put upon, right? Or like pizza again. Either way, whatever. Either way, it's like a tell, right? It's like a cue. It's like sometimes, you know, like it's like there's times where it was almost like someone's trying to pick a fight with me, and the minute that they get to me, right? And I really start unloading back on them and stuff, and they see when I'm like triggered and I'm all emotional and hostile and like in defensiveness mode. All of a sudden, there's the moon up there. Let's see if we can see it. All of a sudden, they drop this their mask for a second, where they were putting on this show, this act, how they were so upset and they were so invested in their side of the story or whatnot. But then you'll see they'll get all of a sudden pleasure out of it. It's like, wait a second, man, where in the hell did that come from? You'll see them cracking a smile in the midst of the anger. And now you can tell this is like, wait a second, this is just, like, you're just trying to drain me of my you're trying to dump and unload on me emotionally. And you baited me through some loaded questions where it's kind of, in a way, they kind of rehearse a sequence, where they back you to between the wall and the hard place, and they're kind of like, it doesn't matter if you go this way, they're going to go that way. And if you go that way, they're going to go that way. Because look, they just needed an emotional regulation, dude. And it really seems ingenuine, man. Like literally, it's like, they'll be setting up little games, man, like for instance, like leaving something out that you can see that's going to somehow gaslight you. Like if you're overweight, they'll leave Weight Watchers book out, right? Like, or you know, they play these little games where, in a way, it's like they're trying to groom you and train you to read their frickin' mind and be like a mind reader. And it's kind of like they need someone like a whipping post in a way. And sometimes you might find yourself frickin' because of pecking order or whatnot, where if you're in a position, like, look, there's some places, a narcissistic safe haven. This is a place where a person's got enough control and runs that environment that you're not in a position to fire back without, like, it's not worth the backlash you're going to get if you do. And so when they know they got you like that, they can get really squirrely, really wiry, really deliberate and intentional. And that's the thing about it, man. Is like, they're so well rehearsed, man. It's just like a keto, man. If you go come running at a dude, you're thinking you're going to chop down on him with the baseball bat, and he snags that shit up and you're on the ground, and now he's got the bat and you don't even know what happened. You have to go back and rewind the tape. And then you still wouldn't figure it out because it's kind of like, I don't know, man. It just happens so quick. You'll miss it. It's really like a sleight of hand. It's like a magician's trick. And it can happen to you basically your whole life, man. You might not even know it because you've been indoctrinated and trained not to see it, to stifle your intuition, to just go along to get along all the time. Like, even when it's a detriment to your own frickin', like, look, your own self-esteem, dude. Because you look, subconsciously, when people like work you over in this sort of way, man, they like bully you and just lead you to and fro psychologically. through your psychological blind spots, and literally, because they're using a real tactic and strategy on you. And look, until you're aware of it, you wouldn't know. But like, for instance, body language. If a person won't square off with you, they keep standing sideways like this at you, that's a sign that they don't like you and they're being standoffish. If a girl covers herself like this when she's around you, she's not comfortable. You know what I'm saying? For instance, normally, just like in Kung Fu, you can know where somebody's going by which way their feet are pointed. I mean, sometimes they got it, one foot's pointed at you and one's kind of pointed off, because it's like, that's an evade. One, you're in an evade posture and an attack posture. But if both feet are freaking directly pointed at a person, that is the object of their attraction at the moment. Or it's either, if you ain't interested in that way, then it's the biggest threat. Okay? So, just because, look, for one thing could mean different things to different people in different situations, especially when it depends with sex, like male or female. Freaking, with some of the stuff. So you literally got to read it by the situation, and it can fluctuate. Like, not everything is the same. But once you start to recognize people's tells and their telegraphs, man, that's basically what it is. Look, once the narc gets so arrogant, they start to telegraph this stuff way in advance. Like, you can sense it coming. It's like the pacing tiger. Either it's hungry, it wants to fight, or it wants to hump. And sometimes it's kind of all three wrapped into one situation. I mean, you know what I mean? Because stress can trigger arousal, okay? So if your body is in the state of malnourishment and you're hangry, you might get to the point where you look, as a coping mechanism, as self-soothing, you know what I'm saying? That's another way to dump like a whole bunch of residual physical, pent-up emotional stress. You know what I'm saying? So these things are kind of interconnected, and at times they kind of, it's what it is you got your brain, your intellectual brain, your emotional brain, and then your chemical brain, your stomach. You know what I'm saying? So it has a big control over your physiology. You know what I'm saying? So, and psychology as well. Because if your body's pumping out desperation, fight or flight, you're under attack, you need to get food now, but you've trained your brain to ignore it. You don't realize, but you're operating off of your stomach chemicals are affecting your hormones, which are affecting the way that you're interacting with people. And you can really regulate it, man, through just being mindful and work with your body, man. Give it what it needs, man. And if you conduct yourself, you know, if you freaking, there's a lot of things that are out of our control, but there's a lot of things, no, we're directly in control of, but we just unaware of it. It's like your breath, okay? You do it naturally, but I can really choose to take a long, drawn in, deep breath, like, then let it out slow, right? That was deliberate. There's the difference between the automatic system and then the deliberate system. And you can really, it's like a muscle, and you gotta train your awareness. And through that breath control right there, that's the same way you're gonna slow down in an argument with a narc where they're setting you up with a loaded question, a baited question, to invoke and provocate a response out of you that will be favorable to what they really wanted to do. It's really problem, reaction, solution. That's what they're using. The Hegelian dialectic. So, by being able to sometimes just control even your breath and your calmness, you'll recognize those little tells, like body language, like say a person's got they're really posturing. They're getting up really close. They're getting really in your face. They're wanting to lock eye contact. Because look, they want to go into a duel. Because even a duel of wits, and I'm right, you're right, it's a frickin', supposedly, when you win a game of chess between two men, I get a dump. If I win, I get a dump of testosterone. And basically, the loser, his nuts shrivel up and shrink. And the same effect happens in arguments or debates, where it can be really thrilling to, you know, make your point, really rub it in. And that's why these people are really like, before they come in for an engagement in a duel, a lot of times they've ruminated about it and went through it in their head 10,000 times. Like while you were busy just living your life, they were stewing about it and plotting on how they could confront you about it. And you'll see they'll hit you in such a concession, like one thing after another, and after another. It's because they've been up in their head ruminating. And when you see all these conditions, man, you know it takes a lot of methodical, deliberate craziness to do this. You know what I'm saying? But look, it really happens. Some people are really that fragile, and their egos are just freaking out of freaking control. And to them, it's worth it. Just to get that petty, like, dopamine rush. And here's the thing. You can get your brain broken, where even when you lose, you'll feel like you win. Where you'll just convince yourself, you'll block that shit out, and live in a magical fantasy world where you're right all the time, no matter what. It's just what you say goes. And that switch that drops that chemical, that hormonal ego rush, that dopamine, where they'll release that dopamine through these narc freaking ambush loaded question scenarios. Like, look, they'll be addicted to it. Like, literally, they don't realize that they're triggering their own adrenaline, and then they're getting crazy about it, and they're believing their own hype in order to trigger that response. So, like, you'll be on the sidelines, like, what the frick is going on? Where in the frick did that come from? Like, it's deep. It's deep, and it's dark, and it's sinister, and this is the evil that lurks in the hearts of men and women, especially women, but men too. So, just talking about this stuff, like getting it out there, it helps me, just like other people when they tell me their experiences. And it's almost like, dang, I had such similar experiences when it comes to this stuff. It's really beneficial and helpful when we kind of talk about it and then drop our psychological kung fu self-defense, so to speak. Our anti-narc kung fu. Because I didn't just choose it, man. I had to learn by necessity, okay? So, but now all these things come into play now, like the understanding of the body language and like social cues and tells. So, I don't know. Might have digressed a little bit here and there in this one, but I was just kind of freestyling it up, making it up as I went. You know what I'm saying? I didn't write it down. It's not all rehearsed. It's just kind of off recall. You know what I'm saying? And just going with the flow of the situation. Sometimes that's how the best videos, best raps I ever did were probably all improv, freestyle, not recorded. Never hear them again. Never could do it the same way again. But they were like some of the baddest things I've ever done. It's weird. But it's good to tap into that skill. It's like a muscle that you gotta work at. And you get better at it the more you do it, the more confident you'll get. But sometimes you make mistakes. And it doesn't go as well as it should have. But should you not done it in the first place? Because that's how trial and error works. You keep doing it. And then you mod what you did wrong on the last one. And eventually you'll be pretty well rounded at it. And you could just freestyle it right off the top. Frickin'. Anyway, because it's like, look, we were trained to relive the play the tapes over and over again from the abuse, right? So you replay the tapes over and over again to heal, to understand it and move on as well and process it. So I don't know. Seems like it's just the natural progression in this thing here. But anyway, I'm running out of time. Take care. Peace. Much love. God bless. Safe travels. Till next time. Peace.